Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. This is Aradhana and today I'm here with yet another video, and as 2022 is just ending, I thought why shouldn't I make a video on top 10 books that I read this year. So without any further ado, let's get into today's video. But before that, if you haven't subscribed my channel, then please do and hit that notification bell so you get notified every time I upload a new video. Now let's get ready for some awesome recommendations. So the first book that I'm going to recommend you today is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. Now I have made a review of this book on my channel and it is a full-fledged review. It is a video of I think 15 minutes. So if you want that, you can check that out. I would link that here and in the description as well. So yeah, you can take a look at that. Briefly, what I want to say about this book is that this book is one of a kind. It is a book about the human mind, about the growth of a person spiritually, mentally, and in every possible way. And it is like a true feminist book in my opinion. And I think you should read this book. Anybody, a boy or girl, man, anybody should read this book, because this might be centered around a girl, but this book is actually about a common person who wants to do something and is willing to do hard work. And this book is a truly coming of age novel in the true sense of the word, and I think this book is a must read for everyone, for every literature student. And if you're not a literature student, you must definitely read this book and see how amazing this book is. What makes this book truly amazing to me is the truthfulness of the heroine itself. Jane Eyre is one of the characters who is just so amazing, so truthful, and so on the right path that you cannot deny her existence. You cannot deny the things she is conveying through the narrative. This book is written in an autobiographical way, though it is not an autobiography of Charlotte Bronte, but this book is written in that way, and that you feel connected to the writer or to the protagonist. So this is why I think I love this book, and I hope you will find it amazing. One more thing I would like to add is that don't read this book with the perception of reading a romance, because this is not a true way of writing a romantic novel, though it is in the truest sense, but you are not going to get all those kinds of romantic scenes or anything like that. This is just not one of those books. This is a book which really talks about romance in the truest sense, and that's why I think you should read this book, and I hope you like it. Now, number 2 on my list is 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson. Now, this book comes into the category of self-help, but it is kind of a very amazing book which talks about these 12 rules, which are explained in a very amazing way by the author. And Jordan Peterson is a Canadian clinical psychologist. You can just watch his lectures on YouTube for free. He's just amazing, and this book is just amazing. And if you want to just take a glimpse in this book, I am going to talk about all the 12 rules in just the way they are written in the title. So to read this book, you have to be really serious about it, and I actually took notes while reading this book. I don't have it in physical because I read it through PDF and everything. Now here are the 12 rules that has been described in the book. So number 1 is stand up straight with your shoulders back. Number 2, treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping. Number 3, make friends with people who want the best for you. Number 4, compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to who someone else is today. This is like one of the best advices ever. Number 5, do not let your children do anything that makes you dislike them. Number 5, set your house in perfect order before you criticize the world. Number 7, pursue what is meaningful, not what is expedient. Number 8, tell the truth, or at least don't lie. Number 9, assume that the person you are listening to might know something you don't. Number 10, be precise in your speech. Number 11, do not bother children when they are skateboarding. And number 12 is pet a cat when you encounter one on the street. So this is inspired by the author's life himself and his readings, and almost in all the videos he talks about all these things, and you can just get it for free. There is an audiobook of this book as well on YouTube, and on the internet you'll find it very easily. You can just download a PDF as well. I am not promoting piracy or anything, but I think for reading you can just do whatever you want. So yeah, I think this book is so amazing that you need to just read this book. I mean, if you want to read a self-help book, this is one of the best of the best. So yeah, do check this out. Now let's get back to fiction again, and here we have our number 3, David Copperfield by Charles Dickens. Now Dickens has always been my favorite, and I have recommended this book earlier as well. Now I have no idea where I should start talking about this book, because this book is written in such a way that you feel like you are David yourself, and it is your life that is changing with every with every phase. You are going into every phase of life, and you are experiencing all these things. You're growing, and you feel all those responsibilities within yourself. I think if you are a teenager or any kind of or in this age, then you should definitely read this book, because this book talks about almost every part of our life, be it love or career or childhood, relationship with parents and all those things. Though this is kind of a little bit heavy on the part of David, because he's an orphan and all those things, and all of us are not that way. And but this book is really amazing because it gives you a lot of life lessons which you might not get if you don't read this book. This is just another very amazing book. This book starts with a very famous sentence which has been asked a lot of time in exams as well. So it says, whether I shall turn out to be the hero of my own life or whether that station will be held by anybody else, these pages must show. Now if you are a beginner, then I would not recommend this book because this is 1000 pages almost. So please don't pick it up. But if you are an avid reader and you want to read more classics, then you should definitely read this book. If you want a brief story, then this book talks about this person, David Copperfield, and how he is an orphan. He doesn't have a father, and then his mother marries this other guy who is very cruel to him, and he sends him to this school, which is very bad. From there, he goes to a factory, and then he runs away to one of his aunts, and it's like, it's all his adventures, but it's real life, it is not a mythical or any kind of thing. Like, for example, Harry Potter is also written in that way. He is, very much kind of, there's a parallel between the lives of Harry Potter and David Copperfield, but this is real, this is not mythical or anything. So yeah, that's what makes it different, and this is such an amazing, and the way Dickens writes, you must read his books for that only. And the way caricaturist kind of description is there of the characters, that kind of is going to make you laugh. And also, the kind of pathos and humor is there in Dickens' writings in all of his books, and this is like one of the prime examples. Dickens called it his baby, so this book is like one of his favorites as well. So yeah, I think you should check out this book if you are a literature student, that this is a must read for you. Now, number 4 on the list is Notes from the Underground by Fyodor Dostoevsky. Now, this is my introduction to Dostoevsky, and I have talked about this book in one of the shorts, but I did not really talk about the book. I just recommended this book, that this is a very good book and you should read it. Today I'm going to talk about this book. This book is about this man whose name has not been given. So this is an unnamed protagonist, and my theory of having an unnamed protagonist is the fact that writer wants you to imagine yourself as the protagonist. So this is what I did with this as well. And I think you should do that with all the characters. If there ever happens to be a story without the name of the protagonist, then put yourself on on that spot, and yeah, think like that. And this book is so true to human nature. The way Dostoevsky goes into the psyche of the protagonist, in the psyche of the human mind, that is kind of it's very precise, and the way he writes, it's just amazing. Basically, the only reason why this book has not mentioned the name of the protagonist is because this is all of us. More or less, to a certain extent, we are the protagonist of this book, and you should, I think, read this way. You should read this book this way, that you are the protagonist, and all the things written in this book is about you. And even if you don't believe it or believe it, you are this person. You have to know that. And if you think that you are not this person, then you are living in an illusion. Now, without giving you any spoilers, what I'd say about this story is that it is about a human being who is a narcissist to a great extent that he can manipulate others, and he's making a hell of his life, who lives in this underground, which is I think his mind, which is so obsessed with himself that he cannot think beyond himself, and he makes others' lives miserable as well. So this is very brief, spoiler free story of this book, and you need to read this book in order to understand this, maybe more than once. So just read this book, and I also made these notes of this book while reading, because there are a lot of things that you need to really analyze in this book. So yeah, I hope you all like this book. Now, the 5th book that I have is Emma by Jane Austen. Now, Emma is my favorite book by Jane Austen. I love Pride and Prejudice. I have read almost all the books of Jane Austen: Northanger Abbey, Persuasion, Pride and Prejudice, Sense and Sensibility, Northanger Abbey, and all those things. I haven't read the Watsons or the Letters of Jane Austen, but like among all her 6 novels that are so famous, this is the best of Jane Austen. Yeah, I forgot about Mansfield Park, but maybe that book is supposed to be forgotten. So the reason why I'm saying this is the best of Austen, because most people say Pride and Prejudice is her most amazing work. It is because of the kind of the cult that has that book has created around itself, but because of the movies also. But this book is so amazing. I mean, for everything Jane Austen is known for, all the things in this book are just so perfect. Like, talk about her sarcasm, her commentary on the social life, her biting wittiness. Everything in this book is just top notch. This is way better than Pride and Prejudice itself. So I think, yeah, you should check out this book. This is about this girl called Emma, and now I'm realizing that there are a lot of books that I'm recommending which have these names of the protagonist as the title itself. So yeah, I like those kinds of books where it is it talks about the growth of the character itself, and I really like those kinds of books. So yeah, maybe that's why all my recommendations have the title as a protagonist of the story. So yeah, you should read Emma, because Emma is a girl who doesn't want to get married herself, but she wants to marry off everybody else, because she thinks that, you know, everybody, somebody is made for somebody, and she knows the best for everybody. So there's this kind of arc where she has to grow out of this habit of hers, and, you know, stop interfering in everybody's life. And this is just like one of the most amazing storylines ever. And I think the way she comments on all the things and everything, and the kind of growth that she goes through, and her realization that she might be wrong. I mean, everybody might be wrong. So this is kind of the very amazing plot of the book. And Emma is the best heroine created by Jane Austen ever. She is somewhere in the middle of Elizabeth Bennet and Anne Elliot. She's not as serious as Anne Elliot. She's not as silly as Elizabeth Bennet. So she is just perfect. She is a perfect blend of both the characters, and that's what makes Emma so amazing to me. It is because of this character that you cannot let go of this novel. I mean, don't talk about Elizabeth Bennet from Pride and Prejudice, and Anne Elliot from Persuasion, and don't even talk about Mansfield Park's Manny or Fanny, whatever her name was. That all those heroines set aside, Emma is the most perfect heroine ever. She has the silliness of Elizabeth, the judgy, prejudiced mind of Elizabeth, and, Anne Elliot's temperament. So yeah, as they say that you cannot describe the beauty of Jane Austen's book in words, but you can really feel that while reading her book. So I think you should check this out and let me know if you have read it or not. The sixth book that I have with me is Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. Now this is the second Charles Dickens recommendation on this list, but I can recommend him forever. Like, I recommend everything Charles Dickens has read, and please do read all of those things, because if you are a literature student, then you should definitely read Charles Dickens. He is just amazing. You're gonna fall in love with his writings if you understand them, because most of the people say that they don't understand, but I don't think so. He writes in very difficult language. It's just that you are not accustomed to reading such way. Most people say about Jane Austen as well that her works are like her writing is very difficult, but I don't think so. It is the fact is that you're not accustomed to reading classics. Once you do a little bit of hard work in one or two books, after that you will just read it like anything. So yeah, coming back to Great Expectation, I think you should read this book, because this again talks about this growth of a single character, which title is changed, and I thank God for that. This is about the story of Pip. Pip is an orphan again, and in most of the books of Charles Dickens, it's an orphan, and that kind of story revolves around, and it talks about debt and the lack of money among these common people and all those things. And I think what makes Great Expectations really different is that read this book for Mrs. Havisham. And Mrs. Havisham is one of those characters that is going to keep you on the edge of your seat while reading this book, because you really want to know more and more about her from the first time she is introduced. And this book is really written in a very amazing way, and the intense relationship between Pip and Estella, that is also very important, and the kind of social problems that has been portrayed in this book, that is also very important. And this Bollywood movie Fitor is made on this book, but don't watch that movie. That movie is going to give you headaches. That is a really bad adaptation, right? And yeah, I think you should read this book, because this book again is very, and if you want to start with Charles Dickens, then I would say just read this book. This is very it's not that big. It is just 500 pages. Okay, so yeah, you can read this. If you want to start with classics, then you should just read this book. Now the seventh book that I'm going to recommend today is The Phantom of the Opera by Gaston Leroux. I hope I'm pronouncing that name right. This book was originally written in French, and it was published in a serialized version. And this is a novel that is kind of horror come musical come romance come everything. This book is a mixture of really amazing drama, musical and horror, and you would just love this book if you like a little bit a hint of horror and romance and all those kind of gothic story. Not per se, it is not hardcore gothic or anything like that, but this is just a very amazing touch of gothic as well as horror is there, and I really love this book, and I hope it is very famous. I think people really know about this book. I don't think so. If you're a literature student, you haven't heard about this book at least. This is one of those books where you want to hate a character, but you cannot hate that character. So this story is basically about this girl and this ghost, their relationship with each other, and this ghost has actually kind of took over this opera house in Paris, and this girl is there and she performs, and it is she that knows this ghost, and she can see him only, right? And nobody else can see that, but they can feel him. okay, that there is this place is possessed by a ghost, this is haunted by a ghost, this opera house. So this is the kind of thing, and there is this lover of this girl as well, and you know, all this kind of love triangle is there with a ghost, and you kind of really feel really amazing while reading this book. This is a very interesting story. I think this is got real imagination. I really love. I think this is one of the finest fiction books ever. So I think you should just read this book, and how this talks about, you know, this ghost tells this girl, I am just forgetting the name of the girl. What happens is that this ghost tells this girl that you have to, you know, come with me, marry me and be with me. But this ghost looks very ugly. I mean, ghosts are supposed to look ugly, right? I mean, I don't want to be a judgy person, but is that so? So he wants to do that, but this girl loves somebody else, and that person loves her as well. And this is kind of a really messy situation, and it talks about at length about all the things that he does to her. And you know, she also says that, you know, I'll elope with you so that, you know, you don't hurt anybody else, and those are the kinds of things. So I really love this book, and I think you should just read this book for this ghost character. Eric is the name, and he is just, you will just, at the end of the book, you will come to sympathize with him. The backstory is so amazing. I don't want to spoil this book for you, but you are going to sympathize with the ghost so hard that you're gonna cry for him. So this is one of the most amazing horror stories I've ever read. So I think you should check out this book as well. On number 8, I have Romeo and Juliet by William Shakespeare. Now, I cannot rate Shakespeare. You understand my feeling as an English student. I cannot rate Shakespeare. Shakespeare is the best, and I try to, you know, include at least 2 dramas of Shakespeare every year when I make my reading list at the start of the year. And this year it was on my reading list because I had known the story basically, but you know, the real thing about reading Shakespeare is when you read him, you know, in the original. Okay, so yeah, I think you should just read this book if you are a literature student. This is specifically for literature student, and if you have a lot of interest in reading, then you could just give it a try, because I think you have to take help from the internet and all those things. But once you read 4 or 5 books by Shakespeare, you kind of make sense with the language, and it's really amazing. I mean, the way this language Shakespeare writes, this is just amazing. The words that he uses, you know, in between the poetical, you know, to and fro between the characters, that is just so amazing. I just really love this book, and yeah, mainly for its language, not for the story. I mean, is also great. It is like the epic love story which has inspired almost every story, every romantic, 2 people falling in love and then their family not agreeing to their relationship, and that's what we know. And this is the originator of that story. So yeah, you should read the original, right? So yeah, I think you should read this book because of Shakespeare's language, not just for the story. So as a literature student, I cannot resist myself from speaking about some of the passages and the beauty of, you know, the beauty of Shakespeare's writing. So this is Act 2, Scene 2, Capulet's Orchard. This is the balcony, the famous balcony scene. This is the Capulet's Orchard. And here Romeo has just, you know, seen Juliet for the very first time in the ball. And now he has just come to her balcony and he is just watching her standing at the window, and he just talks to himself and that how she is looking so beautiful, and he compares her with the moon and how even the moon is, you know, jealous of her beauty. And he says, but soft, what light through yonder window breaks? It is the east, and Juliet is the sun. Arise, fair sun, and kill the envious moon, who is already sick and pale with grief, that thou, her maid, are far more fair than she. But not her maid, since she is envious. Her wasted livery is but sick and green, and none but fools do wear it, and cast it off. It is my lady, oh, it is my love, oh, that she knew she were. So yeah, this is like this goes on for like so. It's a very long passage here, and he just talks about, you know, that how beautiful her cheeks are looking, how red her lips are, and all those kinds of things he just talks about. And then in this scene, it continues where with Juliet says that, "O Romeo, Romeo, wherefore thou art Romeo? Deny thy father, refuse thy name, or if you thou will not, but sworn my love, and I no longer be a Capulet." And yeah, these are the kinds of things that they are saying, but they are not hearing. You know, the imagination is also very amazing here. And yeah, I love this book. I love how they are so very how they are so very amazing. And there is this speech by Friar Lawrence as well that I love in scene 3 of, I think, Act 3 of Act 2nd, scene 3 of Act 2nd. I really love this. Again, there he talks about the nature's, you know, way of saying things to us, and he talks to he's talking sense to Romeo, because he wants, like, you know, I'm gonna die because she is like my enemy and I cannot marry her. So he's like, you know, have you gone mad or what? So he talks about that. It's really a very amazing passage as well. Now here she is saying that Romeo, oh Romeo, Romeo, wherefore thou art Romeo. Now mostly people think that wherefore thou art Romeo means that where are you Romeo. It's not that. He's saying why are you Romeo. Okay, this is the kind of thing. So these are the kinds of things that you would know if you read the original text. Okay, and most people don't read that. They just say, yeah, it's a very cliched story and everything. It's not cliched. You just need to read this book. So I think I would recommend this book if you haven't read this. Now the second last book that I'm going to recommend today is Oscar Wilde, The Importance of Being Honest. This is a play. This is a very short play. You can just read it in a single sitting. And this is really amazing. You know, the synopsis of the book is written in on the back cover of the book. It says that what happens when two women fall in love with Ernest, and Ernest doesn't exist. The importance of being honest. This is a simple thing, you know, which you are going to get excited to read this book, and this book is really hilarious. I mean, it is kind of a comedy. This person kind of he portrays to be two person, one the brother of the person and the other is he himself, and he is kind of living this dual life, and he tells his friend that he is doing that, and this friend goes to the countryside where he is some other person, his friend is some other person, and he says that he is that person. He's like, no, that is a fictitious person I created. He's like, no, I am that person. And all those kinds of situations they create, and then how they resolve those things. Two women fall in love with them as well, and he's like, you know, I am not that person, and he's like, no, I love that person, and they are like that person, and they are so confused. And this is really hilarious. At one point I was myself you know, confused that what kind of story is this, but this is really hilarious. I mean knowing the little bit things about the life of Oscar Wilde, you might think that he writes about something very serious and all those things, but no, I think this is a very good way to start with Oscar Wilde if you haven't. And Oscar Wilde is one of those amazing writers. I have read Canterville Ghost by him, and this was my introduction to him. So yeah, I really do love like this. I basically don't enjoy a lot of dramas because I like novels. I don't like dramas that much. There are very you know, limited number of dramas that I like, and this is one of the best, so I think you should check this out. Now the last but certainly not least on this list is The Mill on the Floss by George Eliot. Now this book is heavily inspired by George Eliot, because yesterday only I was reading about George Eliot for UGC Net paper, and she was you know, her story is kind of very interesting. She was in an open marriage with this man, and then again he died, and she married this another man, and she was one of those writers who was not ready to write as a lady in front of you know, the whole world, and she didn't want others to know like that, because people would judge that this is written by a woman, and they would not really appreciate her you know, literary talent. So she adopted this name George Eliot. Her name was Marianne Evans, and you know, all those things. So it's very amazing. And if you people remember, there was this story, I think in 6th or 7th standard, I'm forgetting. There was this small chapter in English literature. It was in this literature book. It said like Maggie cuts her hair, and Maggie is this girl who she is like told by the so-called society that she is not beautiful, and she you know, her hair are very bad and like that, and she kind of gets so frustrated. She's like a teenager. She's not even a teenager. She's, I think, less than 10, and she cuts her hair like from here, from there, from wherever she finds, and it's like, what the hell is wrong with you? And she is, because her aunts are like really bitchy about her, and she is so frustrated that she cuts her hair. And I read this in my 6th, 7th, I think this was in my syllabus. I was from ICSE board. So yeah, those are the kinds of things. And when I just started reading this book, I was like, yeah, maybe that is from there. And when I read that scene, I was like, oh my god, it was really amazing. This whole psyche of Maggie, and it basically is about these two characters, Maggie and Tom, and these are siblings. And it is kind of, it talks about how Tom is given all the things that he really wants and that he didn't really want, because Maggie is like very clever and she is a fast learner, but Tom is not. Maggie does not get real education, and Tom gets everything. So there is kind of you know, very a complex way of describing these relationships, which are complex in themselves, and the way George Eliot describes the, you know, the seasons of any place, that is also very important. And yeah, I think you should read some of there are some of the writers that describe the you know, scenic views in such a way that you have to read for that, because you have to read Charles Dickens for his character descriptions, you know, and for George Eliot or Thomas Hardy, you have to read about the kind of complex relationship and the scenic views that they describe. That is really commendable. So yeah, that was it for today. These were my 10 recommendations that I felt you all need to know about, that I felt were very amazing for anybody who loves literature, who loves book. And as most of you are from literature background, that's why you are on my channel. So I hope you all will add some of these to your 2023 reading list. I mean, we are going to take a little bit time to get the hang of saying 2023. So yeah, I hope you all will add all of these books, all of these, if not all of these, then a few of them to your 2023 reading list. And so yeah, I hope you all like these books, and do recommend me books in the comment section, because I am also making my 2023 reading list. So do not forget to do that. I would love to hear your recommendations as well. And yeah, that was it for today, and I'll meet you in the next video. Till then, bye bye, Merry Christmas and a very Happy New Year.